Okay, so our goal for this lesson is to be able to graph without a table. To graph a quadratic without a table. So we know that when we graph a linear form, we don't have to use the table every time because we can put it in slope-intercept form, right? And we can use our y-intercept and our slope and we can graph. You can do the same thing here. So we first talked about what a quadratic function was. What is a quadratic function?
A function with the highest exponent of x.
Good. Take a point. All right. What is the axis of symmetry?
The invisible line that cuts through the graph.
Good. All right. And we have a formula to help us find our axis of symmetry, don't we?
Yeah, it's x equals negative b divided by 2.
And you said divided by. Take a point. Good job. All right. So we practiced that here. Now, negative b means the opposite of b. So our opposite of b here, the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So we did 2 divided by 2 times 1, and we got 1. And we use this when it's in standard form. Okay? Then we found our y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? Yes, yes. Where the parabola crosses the y-axis in standard form, it's the constant or the c. So what was our y-intercept here?
3.
Good. All right, what was the last thing that we found? The vertex. And how did we find our vertex?
You gotta find the table base and think about the table and find the y.
All right, so we found the axis of symmetry. We plugged it in to find y, and then we plotted our vertex. So it says look at top flap where we found it. You find that, you plug it in, you get y. Now, we need to talk about how we graph using these parts. Because we don't have to make a table every time. It's magic. We can just plot this, draw this, do our y-intercept. Everybody ready? So to graph, you have 3 steps. Maybe 4. Depends on how fancy we want to be. First step, and what did we find first? Good. Both of you take a point. And what does AOS stand for?
Axis of symmetry.
Good. And what's the formula for axis of symmetry?
X equals negative b divided by 2a.
Good. Take a point. Can we breathe a little bit?
He's failing, he did. So we gotta get these points.
Maybe we should do well on our tests and turn stuff in, and then we won't be failing. That's asking too much. What are y'all going to do next year without me when your teacher is not as nice?
Alright. Not as nice. What?
Nice? Maybe like double save.
That teacher might
Be like,
Whoa, wait, what?
Troy, it's recording. Oh my God.
So maybe that teacher actually might pass away.
Okay, so the first thing we do is we find our axis of symmetry. The second thing we did was identify the y-intercept. What was the third thing we did?
We y-intercept.
We found the vertex.
Vertex, the y. Good. So plug in to find vertex. And what do you think the last thing we're going to do is? Graph. We're going to graph. Because I like to party.
You? Jesus.
Not with Jesus.
Sorry. Satan. Here we go.
Okay. All right, weirdos. What was our axis of symmetry for our problem? For this problem right here. No. What was our axis of symmetry?
1.
X equaled 1. So what we do is we go to where x is at 1 and we draw an invisible vertical line. Or imaginary. Whatever makes your soul happy. Okay, now what is our y-intercept of this?
3.
3, because it's always our constant. So we go up 3, put a dot. What was our vertex?
X squared. 1 and 2.
1, 2. So you go right 1, up 2. Now, our parabola is a U. Do we have enough to make a U?
No.
But if this is 1 unit away right here, how many units away is it going to be over here?
1.
Dun, 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 dun. That's all you have to do.
So we just add 1 on the other side.
Yep. Because you have to make it a parabola, you got to make it even.
So did you?
Now, if you wanted to put more dots, it's a quadratic, which means it's our perfect squares. So to get to this point, you go up 1, right 1. That's our first perfect square. What's our next perfect square? 1,
2.
2 is not a perfect square.
3.
So 1,
Oh.
4. So you would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1, 2. And that's your next point. And then you do the same thing over here.
Okay. So did you since 3 is a constant, for you to find the vertex, you went down from 3 and then over 2?
No, my vertex was we plugged it in and we found it up here. So my vertex is 1, 2, so I just plotted that point.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yep.
So did you learn this stuff in high school? Like,
Yeah.
You remember?
Well, I teach it every year.
Once. I don't know how you remember.
You know, I practice this stuff right before I teach it to y'all. Okay, weirdos. We're not dumb. Let's turn the paper to 36B. Oh, and look. Hey, we don't say that. Take off a point from your team.
Whoa. What do you say?
We did not go over this the other day, and I see that a lot of us didn't even do it. Cool. So we're going to practice it. Alright, so we're going to start with A, which was y equals x squared plus 4x plus 6. So what is the first thing that we wrote down on our flappy that we need to find? Axis of symmetry. And what is our formula for axis of symmetry?
X minus negative b divided by 2a.
Okay? So what's our b right here?
4.
So what's the opposite of positive 4?
Negative 4.
Good, take a point. Alright, and what's our a?
X.
It's 1, so you just plug it in and you get 1. Alright, what's 2 times 1?
2.
What's negative 4 divided by 2?
Negative 2.
Okay, so that's where our axis of symmetry is. Did anybody do this and get it right? Oh, I'm so proud. Take 2 points. Put your hand down.
I swear to God, I did.
You're
You
writing
wanna see
right
it?
now.
You want to see it?
You were writing.
Yeah. See this work? I think it's a game in here. I gotta find it first.
Why did you not hold the place? It's right. It's on the back of
I
this.
put it right here. Look, wait. It's okay, class. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, so step 2 was identify the what?
See all that?
The y-intercept. Look at you go. So what is our y-intercept here? No, the y-intercept is always the constant. So you look back at your equation. What's our constant?
6.
Okay, so our y-intercept is 6. Okay, what's step 3?
Step 3. Find the vertex.
Plug in to get your vertex. So we know what x is, right?
Yes.
We're going to plug it in right here, and we're going to figure out what y is. I'm going to do it in a different color. Y equals, and our formula is x squared plus 4x plus 6. So everywhere we see an x, we're going to replace it with negative 2. So we have negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 6. So all we're doing is we're replacing x with what we found in step 1. Alright, what's negative 2 squared?
Oh,
Negative 4.
Positive 4.
Oh,
What's 4 times negative 2?
oh, negative 8.
Okay. Alright, what's 4 minus 8?
Oh, minus 8. Oh, 4.
Negative 4. What's negative 4 plus 6?
2.
So the coordinate for our vertex is negative 2, 2.
So it's the goal basically to find the vertex, so we have, or like to find every step.
I mean, you need every step to be able to graph it. Yes.
So what I did, instead of using that equation, I used this one. You know, the y equals x squared minus 2x plus 3. So you wouldn't use that.
No, because we have a new formula. We have a new equation. This is our new problem. Yes, you may. All right, now let's draw our coordinate plane. Okay, where is our axis of symmetry at?
Just 0, 0.
No.
Oh, no, 6.
-2.
No.
-2. Thank you, CJ. Take a point. So we go left 2 and we draw a vertical line.
Do we have to draw that line?
Yes. And we're going to talk about why in just a second. But I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, now our y-intercept is what? All right, then we go left 2, up 2. Now, if we didn't have this axis of symmetry, how would we know where to put our other dot that we need?
You go,
Because
don't
it's
you when
weird.
you go over like,
But if I put this dot over here, this would also be a mirror, wouldn't it?
yeah.
But that's not the correct way, is it? Because it needs to flip across this. So it is very important that we draw this every time because this tells us where to flip our dot. If you don't flip it across this dotted line, it's wrong. So draw this every time. So if this is 2 units away, what is this one going to be?
2 units.
Ta-da!
Oh, I thought.
You want that Coke?
Yes. So that's it right there.
Okay.
All right, so let's count how many units it is up and to the right and make sure it's our perfect square. So from our vertex, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's right 2. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
And then if we wanted our other one, we would go up 1, right 1, so our dot should be right here. Didn't our parabola cross through those points? Look at us go.
Look at us.
Mine really good. That's because I'm bad.
You're about it. Doing the loopy?
I did.
All right, let's do B together. And then we're going to do one more together, and I think we might have time for a pop quiz. Or do you think you might be able to do this one without me?
We do it.
Do it without me.
Just, but one condition. We don't have to do the pop.
Oh, you still do the pop quiz. That's a good try, though. And Monday you have a math workshop test.
How is that going to be? Is that like going to be a check
A
mark
test
or-
on your math workshop.
60%?
No, like, no.
Gee. You did?
Almost spit that everywhere.
No, I mean, like, is it going to be like a check or is...
No, it's a test. It's on the problems like your math workshop.
Okay.
Hey, do this problem. And you've been talking the whole time. Like you said you weren't going to. And I heard you back there.
She was asking where did I pop?
I do not care if she's asking you about Jesus. Do your math.
Are you atheist?
Aren't you supposed to be doing this math problem?
I'm confused.
Why?
What do we plug in for the A?
What is A here?
Just, so I want to.
Ooh, and you're going to get a fraction on this one, and I love it.
So what do we do first? Do we divide first or multiply?
So you have -6 divided by 2 times 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay? You have to multiply.
That's 4.
And then you get what? 3 halves, right?
Yeah.
Or 1.5? Negative 1.5? You could leave it as 3 halves if you feel fancy. What's our y-intercept?
8.
What do we do for step 3?
You plug in the 1.5 to all the x's.
Yes, you do. And you need that 2 out front, right? Because we still need to keep that. We don't drop it.
Oh, that's it.
Isn't this much easier than doing a table every time?
Yeah. Could we build this on the last test if you would have taught this earlier?
No, that's why I told you to do the table first.
Or the sub with those sheet of half sheets.
I still didn't teach you this on the half sheet, but okay.
I know, but like, if we would have known what to put as,
We use the same points every time.
I know, but I forgot.
Just keep going. Just. You should be squaring and multiplying, not just staring at me. Let's go. And remember, put negative 1.5 in parentheses when you square it. Ready?
No.
Man, sandwich, son.
So the one we found for the cortex, that goes first? For the coordinates?
Do you plot that first? You can.
Like that goes with X, right?
All right, what do we get for y?
No, not yet.
No, my ham
Almost
sandwich.
done. Almost done.
Oh.
I don't know.
Where did we get the
Where are you lost at?
I found it.
Okay. All right, what did we get?
For what?
Wow, bro. Come on.
For y?
Oh, 3.5.
3.5? That sounds about right. No, baby, we found y. We already have x.
Oh. Okay, I understand now. Going slow.
All right, how many of us got 3.5? Ooh, good job. Take a point. Okay, now we're ready to graph? Are we afraid of it even though it's decimals?
No.
No, we're not. Persevere in the face of danger. Okay, so our axis of symmetry is at negative 1.5. So I'm going to go left 1 and then a half. My y-intercept is at 8. 1, 2, 3. And my vertex is at negative 1.5, 1, 2, 3.5. So if this is 1.5 units away right here, what does it have to be over here? Ta-da! Not pretty, but we did it. Uno más, you think you can do your quiz?
Quiz. No,
Okay.
very good.
All right, let's do it. I will let you keep your notes out. How about that?